Hey everyone, Clay Burris, Burris Realty Group at Century 21 Sheets. We're back with another special guest this week. We're joined today by Brian Strauss at Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance. He's an agent out of their Noblesville location. Thanks for joining us today, Brian.
Hi, how are you?
Today we just wanted to get into some of the more of your more common questions, really revolving around homeowners insurance today.
Sure.
So Brian, if you don't mind, we'll just jump right into a few questions for you.
Okay.
I guess starting out, how often should people be shopping their homeowners insurance rates? I know I haven't shopped mine personally for a while, and I don't know if that answer has changed because of COVID or it's really the same regardless. Every so often you should be doing it. But what do you think?
That's a great question. I think you need to have an agent that you can rely on, that you can reach out to, and to get in touch with them once a year is a great idea. To more importantly, make sure you have the appropriate coverages. So if something does happen, you're good. You know what you have what you need. Then as far as rates, it's a good idea to check in with your agent every year, but also shop it every year if you have the time to do that. It can tend to be kind of tedious, but once you get some quotes from other companies, always send it to your current agent so they can, have a chance to look at it and see if maybe some things that the quotes are missing. Because a lot of times quotes that you get are going to be missing a lot of information, and it's not apples to apples. And so I find that to be very important.
That makes sense. Yeah. Along those same lines, I guess, is it true that it's always better or less expensive to bundle a home and auto type of policies together, or is that true or not, I guess?
With most companies, yes, it's going to save you quite a bit.
Okay.
There are certain circumstances, depending upon your claims history, driving record for people in your household, if you're doing the home and the auto, that it may be beneficial to do separate companies. But typically, bundling it together is going to be where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck.
Okay. I guess jumping into kind of a timely topic here. I know here in central Indiana in April, there were several storms that went through. I know we're in storm season in general.
Yeah.
I know personally on some of our team's listings, we've had some hail damage on the roofs that were found on inspections, and have a couple sellers getting roofs replaced as a result of it. Should someone that owns a home, when there are storms that come through where hail may have happened, should they automatically make a priority to call their insurance agent, or do they call a roofing company to evaluate the roof? How does that work?
That's a great question, and it comes up a lot. So I would highly recommend touch base with your agent and say, hey, here's what I'm thinking. Here's the storm went through. I might have some damage. I noticed, some dents on my mailbox and, some different things. So we got hit hard. To see what their company would recommend you do. Because usually the agent will know, hey, look, if you open a claim and they don't pay out on it because you didn't have enough damage or you didn't have damage, that still marks as a claim against you with some companies. Okay. So you got to be a little cautious with that and talk with your agent to see how that works with their company. With us, it won't hurt you to open the claim. Okay. But if you then go shop somewhere else, they're going to see that you did open a claim with our company. Okay. And they may hold it against you, and it may affect your rate substantially when you go to try to get a different rate somewhere else.
So bottom line, call your agent. Hopefully you trust them enough. If not, maybe that's all the reason to shop for new quotes. If you haven't, don't trust them to make that call. But assuming you do and have a decent relationship with your provider, essentially call them and they can point you in the right direction on whether you should file a claim and have somebody come out and evaluate it, or go directly to a roofing company first.
Yeah, I'll add to that. I mean, there's a lot of roofers out there that'll tell you got damage just because they're trying to replace a lot of roofs.
Sure.
And so you have to open that claim to get the opinion of the insurance company on it as to what would apply for coverage. And then if you don't like the response that you got there, you can always ask for a reinspect and kind of push it a little bit further. If you run into problems, get a hold of your agent and, talk with them through it. And they can usually reach out to the claims and kind of get more clarification, maybe get something pushed through.
Okay. And then also for our homeowners out there, for those that have a basement, maybe, for example, I know, at least from what I've been told by insurance agents in the past, the water backup is not standard under most policies. I think that's an add-on. Is that right?
In most cases, it's an endorsement you have to add, or the coverage is minimal and you would maybe want to bump it up.
And by water backup, if you can help me here on clarifying, my understanding is that would be not necessarily a flood, but more of your sump pump stops working, basement floods. That's not going to be covered under a normal policy in most cases, unless you have that add-on
Right.
which obviously if the sump pump fails and your basement floods, depending if your basement's finished or not and what kind of belongings you may have down there that get damaged, it could get quite expensive, at least in my real estate experience.
Absolutely. Get very expensive. The water backup also pertains to water backing up into the house from off premise too. So if your lines don't get backed up on your property, then that's something that would not be covered. So it does apply even in situations where you don't have a basement.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a great point.
Okay.
So a sewer line or something like that coming from the street gets clogged and
Yeah. So that's something that you want to make sure you have that endorsement for those types of claims. But from the basement standpoint, I mean, every basement's different. It all depends on how you have your foundation, everything graded away from the foundation to prevent water from building up. And sometimes some pumps just can't keep up. If we get a lot of rain, sometimes they just can't keep up. It didn't fail, it just couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah.
So I've always encouraged people when they get their first home to add it and just for sure and see how their sump pump runs. If it runs a lot when it rains, then yeah, that's something they definitely want to keep on their policy. But generally speaking, if you have a basement and there's anything down there that's of any value, you'll want coverage. And you can get up to $100,000 in coverage.
Okay.
But typically policies that include it, it's like $5,000.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, no, that's great advice. I guess as a follow-up question to that, are there any other like common add-on type of coverages that you do a lot of or recommend to the majority of people out there that they should be looking for if they don't have it currently?
Yeah, absolutely. To go follow along the lines of the sump pump, you had mentioned flood. Well, a flood is not covered on your own homeowner's insurance. And if water comes inside the house from any other way other than something that was caused by a covered peril on your policy, like roof damage and a leak or wind damage and opening, if water comes into the house, if you get a lot of rain outside and it just comes in to any part of your house, that's flood. And that's not covered unless you have a flood insurance policy. And anybody can get a flood insurance policy. Just depends on how much it is based on where you're looking.
Perception, right? That flood insurance is only on houses that are in floodplains. I know on the real estate transaction, the mortgage company is certainly going to require it to have flood insurance if it's in a floodplain. But to your point, you can get it on any property should you choose.
Yeah, there's neighborhoods that have flooded that aren't in a floodplain because the water, there was a lot of rain, and the way the landscape was graded, water built up in the neighborhood and flooded houses, just a little bit, but caused a lot of damage.
Yeah.
So that's something that people aren't usually aware of.
Okay. That's good advice as well. I think that takes care of my questions. Is there anything else that you think people should generally know out there? Is there a good way for people to reach you should they have further questions, I guess?
I'm always here to help, and that's my main priority, is just to help people to better understand what their insurance is for and why they have it, why it's costs this much. And I help people all the time, give them quotes, and I'll look at quotes they have at other companies. I'll advise them on the way to go, whether it's with me or with somebody else, because rates are different for different people based on age categories, claims history, insurance scoring, which is credit, all kinds of stuff. And I'm happy to help them. And the best way to get a hold of me is on my cell phone number, 317-509-3863. Call anytime with any general questions that you have about anything. I'm happy to help.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, we really appreciate that. And we'll put Brian's information on the screen here as soon as we wrap this up, so that if you have questions out there, feel free to reach out to Brian. We appreciate you taking the time today to answer a few questions with us, and certainly appreciate your willingness to answer our clients' questions should they have them.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Clay.